Hey, come on in. Pull up a chair.
Yeah, grab that one right here by the window.
Get comfortable. We have actually been saving this exact seat at the cafe just for you. So welcome to today's deep dive. It is so good to have you sitting here with us.
It really is the perfect afternoon for a deep dive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Just listening to the rain hitting the glass, you've got the coffee roasting in the background. It's nice.
And we have a conversation lined up today that requires exactly this kind of slowed down, contemplative atmosphere. I mean, it is a perspective that might fundamentally rewire how you view the people in your life.
Yeah, I think rewire is definitely the right word. Because today we are tackling what I consider the ultimate philosophical paradox of our time.
Oh, completely.
I mean, here we are. It's the year 2026. We live in this hyper-curated, AI-driven reality, We can optimize our morning circadian routines, our spatial audio digital workspaces.
The biometric health metrics.
Exactly. Even our social media feeds. The friction has essentially been engineered out of our daily existence.
Pretty much all of it. But when it comes to human connection, when it comes to finding a life partner, we are collectively hitting this massive, unyielding brick wall.
It is the great irony of our era. The more we successfully optimize our physical and digital environments, the less equipped we seem to be for the highly unoptimized, deeply messy reality of another human being.
Right. And to explore this, we are looking at this brilliant, almost ancient framework of philosophical wisdom, and we're applying it directly to our modern lives.
It's so relevant right now.
It really is. And it centers around a highly specific, but honestly incredibly relatable scenario. So I want you to imagine a profoundly successful professional.
Okay.
We are talking about someone who's completely conquered the modern metrics of success. Like they breezed through their masters, crushed their Ph.D., nailed the postdoc, and secured a highly coveted professorship.
The dream on paper.
Exactly. They're financially bulletproof. Their career is absolutely thriving.
Yeah.
By every single societal metric of 2026, their life is flawless.
But there is a glaring void in that perfection.
A massive void. Because despite mastering the complex universe of academia and career advancement, they are completely baffled as to why they cannot find a life partner.
Right.
They have this deep, genuine desire to share their life. They want to take evening walks with someone, share meals, just have someone to talk to at the end of the day.
It's the simple things.
Yeah. But the algorithm of love is continually returning zero results. And the irony is just palpable. We apply our relentless, career-optimizing logic to human connection, and it seemingly guarantees a 0% success rate.
What's fascinating here is the underlying philosophical perspective on what a committed relationship actually represents.
Tell me about it.
Well, ancient Stoic teachings suggest a radically different view from the algorithmic romantic comedies we are fed today. Entering a committed relationship isn't just about doubling your happiness metrics or having a permanent co-star for your aesthetic vacation photos.
Right.
It is fundamentally volunteering for a very specific, highly concentrated type of suffering.
Okay, let's unpack this. Volunteering for suffering. That is a brutal way to frame it, but it instantly shatters the fairy tale illusion we all walk around with.
It really does.
But before we get to the suffering part, we have to look at how we even attempt to choose a partner in the first place. Because the contrast between how we select for business, for friendship, and for romance is structurally bizarre.
It exposes a massive cognitive dissonance in our modern standards.
Think about the mechanics of it. When we choose a business partner, what is the core metric we look for?
Trust.
Trust. Are they reliable? Will they misappropriate company funds? That is basically the entire filter.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And when we choose a friend, we look for loyalty and a shared wavelength. Will they have my back? Do we genuinely enjoy occupying the same space? We do not ask our friends for their credit scores, their 5-year optimization plans, or their genetic history.
Nobody does that.
But the second it comes to choosing a life partner, suddenly we manifest this rigid 20-point checklist out of thin air.
And it isn't merely a checklist. It functions as a completely impossible algorithmic filter.
Oh, the criteria just endlessly stack up. I mean, they need to be the ideal height.
Right.
They need to be conventionally attractive, but in a subtle, unique way.
Of course.
They need a flawless personality.
Yeah.
Witty but never obnoxious, emotionally deep but never a burden. They need a prestigious education, a high-income career trajectory, and impeccable cultural refinement.
It's exhausting.
It is. They need to appreciate vintage wine but also be authentically thrilled to eat cheap street food. It is an exhausting set of demands.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, particularly the reality of 2026, we can trace exactly where this delusion originates.
Oh, the SNS stuff.
Exactly. We are suffering from profound social media addiction, or SNS overload, as some of the sociological models call it.
Yeah.
We spend hours every single day swiping through perfectly curated lives,
So,
AI-enhanced photos, and algorithmically optimized lifestyle content. We are so accustomed to customizing everything in our world.
from our virtual avatars to our smart home atmospheric lighting.
Right. So we subconsciously treat human beings like customizable avatars in a video game menu.
We really do. We want to pull up a character creation screen, slide the humor bar to 80%, push the income bar to 99%, and just hit generate.
But the mathematical reality of that behavior is brutal. If you take that 20-point checklist and you input those specific demands into a global database of the 8 billion people currently on Earth,
The result is zero,
zero. There is no one. Zero matches.
which sounds hyperbolic,
Yeah.
but statistically it tracks. I think about you, our listener, sitting there right now. You are probably mentally running through your own implicit checklist. We all have one, even if we deny it.
Oh, everyone does.
But if the statistical match for these lists is genuinely zero, how does anyone ever end up together? How do these relationships even initiate if the math is impossible?
Because of a beautiful, universally accepted social illusion, everyone lies a little bit at the beginning.
It's a universally accepted illusion, sure, but I wonder if we even view it as lying in the moment. Like we genuinely want to be that perfect, modern, art-loving, endlessly patient person for them.
That is a fair distinction. It is a projection of our ideal selves. We suppress our flaws, we feign deep interest in niche hobbies, we hide our annoying conversational tics.
Yeah.
The match seems statistically perfect initially because both individuals are temporarily playing a highly optimized role, but eventually the curtain falls.
Oh, it does.
The energy required to maintain the projection depletes, the real human emerges, and that is when the volunteering for suffering truly commences.
So let's assume you make it past that initial illusion. You drop the conversational filters, you merge your lives, you move into the same physical space.
The dangerous part.
Right. Here is where we pivot from the macro expectations to the micro realities.
Yeah.
And honestly, the exploration of these micro realities is where this philosophy becomes incredibly potent, because it isn't the grand sweeping tragedies that usually destroy a connection.
No, it rarely is.
It is the microscopic frictions, the daily, relentless grind of existing in the same physical space as another autonomous creature.
The mundane clashes of daily domesticity.
It's funny you mentioned the curtain falling, because when it does, it doesn't reveal some massive dramatic secret. Usually it just reveals someone who likes the room set to 75 degrees.
Right.
Let's look at the absolute absurdity of these mundane clashes. It inevitably starts with the thermostat wars. We have these brilliantly engineered AI smart apartments in 2026 that can track our core body temperatures, but it doesn't even matter
Not at all.
because one person is perpetually sweating and the other is wrapped in 3 thermal blankets shivering.
Then there is the tension at the dinner table. You sit down to share a meal, and one person finds the food incredibly salty and overwhelming.
While the other person is desperately scanning the table for the salt shaker because they feel like they are chewing on damp cardboard.
Exactly. And the bathroom habits. One person operates on a strict twice-a-day shower schedule like a machine, while the other person thinks showering once every 3 days is perfectly adequate and environmentally conscious.
And let's not even delve into the physical chaos of the living space.
Oh no.
Tossing clothes randomly onto the bed instead of utilizing the smart closet, leaving damp towels draped over the back of a chair, forgetting to initiate the self-cleaning cycle on the kitchen hub.
When you list them out sequentially like that, they sound incredibly trivial. But the cumulative psychological impact of these tiny annoyances is profound. In boxing, they have a highly accurate term for this.
The jab punches.
Yes, jab punches. A spectacular knockout blow is actually quite rare. What usually takes a fighter down is the steady accumulation of hundreds of tiny, rapid jab punches. They wear you out, they exhaust your emotion defenses, and eventually, your guard drops and you collapse.
Death by 1,000 damp towels.
Precisely. These micro stresses accumulate within the nervous system until one random Tuesday you look across the living room and you simply cannot stand the sight of the other person for absolutely no logical, communicable reason.
You just want them gone.
Exactly. They haven't committed any major betrayal. There is no dramatic infidelity, no sudden financial ruin. You are just overflowing with the biological stress of mundane friction.
The medical parallel is actually quite striking when you map it out.
Hmm.
Think about when you go to a diagnostic clinic in 2026 with a persistent, unexplained stomach ache.
Oh, this is a great comparison.
Right. They run all the bioscans, deploy the nanobots, map your entire system, and find absolutely zero physical anomalies. What do they inevitably diagnose it as?
Neurogenic or
Right.
stress-induced.
Exactly.
It is the medical establishment's catch-all phrasing for, you are experiencing physical pain, we cannot locate a mechanical failure, so it is likely just the weight of your existence.
And society does the exact same thing with romantic relationships. When a couple splits up entirely because of an accumulation of jab punches, society diagnoses it as personality differences.
Ah, the classic label.
It's the ultimate relationship catch-all term. Personality differences simply means there was no dramatic, easily explainable reason to fracture, just an unbearable, exhausting overflow of mundane friction that neither person knew how to process.
You observe this exact same dynamic playing out in modern corporate life, too.
Oh, absolutely.
If you analyze your company group chat or the dynamics of your shared spatial audio workspace, it is rarely the massive multi-million-dollar project failure that pushes someone to draft their resignation letter.
No, it's the little things.
It is a coworker who constantly leaves passive-aggressive emojis on your project updates, or the person who refuses to mute their mic while typing aggressively on spatial audio calls. The micro-frictions are what break the human components of the system.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because when we shift the conversation to what actually holds value to people in a relationship, the traditional logic completely disintegrates. I have to share this wild case study that perfectly illustrates this breakdown of logic.
I am intrigued. The case studies in this area usually reveal some fascinating blind spots.
It really exposes how little we understand our own desires. So imagine this woman. She files for divorce from her husband. And on paper, according to the algorithm of modern success, this husband is the ultimate prize.
He checks the boxes.
He checks every single box of the 20-point checklist. He is a graduate of an elite, top-tier university. He holds a prestigious position at a massive, globally recognized corporation. He's incredibly wealthy, completely faithful, and highly family-oriented. By every societal metric available, he is a flawless catch.
The precise archetype of a partner that parents boast about in the extended family group chat.
The absolute golden child of societal expectations. But she leaves them. And why does she initiate the divorce? Because he lacked mood.
Mood. That is a highly subjective metric.
Highly subjective. Specifically, she possessed this deep, lifelong desire to sit in a cozy, quiet cafe on a rainy day, drink a warm cup of coffee, and just listen to music with her partner, just to share the atmosphere.
Okay.
But her perfect, wealthy corporate husband had absolutely zero interest in doing that. He found the entire concept inefficient and pointless. So what does she do? She divorces him and eventually ends up with an unemployed man who is 15 years older than her.
Because the older unemployed man would sit in the cafe, drink the coffee, and share the atmosphere to the rain with her.
Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
But come on, looking at this rationally giving up financial stability, societal status, and a guaranteed future for a guy who just drinks coffee, well, most people looking at that from the outside would say she has completely lost her mind. That sounds deeply reckless.
It does sound reckless if you are only measuring by one specific yardstick.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a brilliant demonstration of human nature. Society might label her as crazy or irresponsible, but this scenario perfectly illustrates that human value systems are infinitely diverse.
Yeah, we can't project our values onto others.
Exactly. We cannot universally define what constitutes value for another person's daily existence.
For some people, financial security and corporate prestige are the absolute peak of value. For others, it is relentless intellectual stimulation. And for her, it was shared aesthetic experience, that specific, unquantifiable mood.
And this raises an important question about the fundamental sacrifice of choice. This is arguably the core lesson of the entire philosophical framework we are examining.
The trade-offs.
Right. Whatever specific trait you prioritize above all else, whether it is immense wealth, stunning physical aesthetics, or a willingness to engage in rainy day romance, you will inevitably, mathematically, lack its opposite.
It is the ultimate unavoidable trade-off.
Exactly. If you choose to partner with someone purely for their relentless ambition, their corporate drive, and their financial success, you cannot be angry when they do not have the time or the mental bandwidth to sit in a cafe for 3 hours on a random Tuesday. If you choose someone purely for their artistic soul, their deep empathy, and their mood, you cannot be furious if they do not possess a highly stable, aggressively lucrative tech job. You cannot judge someone else's internal value system, but you absolutely must accept the trade-offs of your own rigid preferences. You cannot demand the entirety of the 20-point checklist.
You cannot have it all, because having it all requires opposing personality traits to exist in the exact same brain.
Which is impossible.
Right. So what does this all mean for us? For you, sitting with us at the cafe right now, trying to navigate this incredibly complex, friction-filled world of human relationships. If you're listening to this right now, think about the last time you were deeply annoyed with someone in your home. Was it an actual fundamental betrayal of your core values, or was it just a jab punch?
Just a wet towel.
Exactly. A wet towel that you internally interpreted as a lack of love. How do we actually survive this dynamic? The solution offered by this philosophy is so radical, it feels almost jarring to our 2026 sensibilities. It is a radically low expectation, heavily stoic approach to modern companionship.
It requires a complete ground-up mental reset of how we view our partners.
The advice is incredibly blunt. Drop the conditions, all of them. Just take the checklist and delete the file. Age, it doesn't matter. They could be 20 years older, they could be 10 years younger. Nationality, irrelevant.
Background, societal status, academic pedigree, unimportant.
And the framework uses this brilliant analogy about marital history that I really want to expand on. It uses the metaphor of a used car.
Oh, this is a great word.
Even in 2026, society places so much implicit stigma on someone who has been divorced, treating them like damaged goods or a failed investment. People want a brand new car partner with 0 mileage and 0 baggage.
The untouched ideal.
Right. But this philosophy argues the exact opposite. Don't worry if someone is a used car. Because sometimes a well-maintained, experienced used car that has been road-tested and understands the mechanics of breakdown and repair runs infinitely better than a brand new car straight off the lot that has never encountered a pothole.
It is an incredibly pragmatic way to view human experience. The baggage is actually data.
The only baseline requirement, the absolute floor of your expectations, should simply be they are a human being.
And that leads to what I consider the greatest psychological exercise in this entire framework. Let's call it the P-pad epiphany.
Okay, you have to explain the P-pad epiphany, because when I first read this concept, I thought it was completely absurd. But the psychology behind it is actually quite deep.
It comes down to the mathematics of expectation. If your baseline expectations are sky high, if you expect a mind-reading, flawlessly wealthy, perfectly tidy, emotionally infinitely patient supermodel, every single thing your partner does will register as a disappointment.
You're setting yourself up to fail.
Exactly. You will live in a perpetual state of deficit. You'll be miserable. But if you apply radical stoicism and expect absolutely nothing, everything is a joy. Everything is a surplus.
Okay, but let me push back on this drop the checklist idea for a second. Because if my baseline expectation is literally just they are a human being, and as the analogy goes, they can use a toilet better than a dog, aren't I just settling? How is that not a recipe for resentment? That sounds like resigning yourself to a miserable substandard life.
It sounds like settling if you view it through the lens of modern entitlement. But the Stoic angle here isn't about lowering your self-worth or accepting abuse. It is about recognizing the mathematical reality of expectation.
Okay.
If you expect nothing and your partner manages to simply clean up after themselves after dinner, your brain doesn't immediately say, well, they should be doing that anyway. I deserve a cleaner kitchen.
Right.
Your brain shifts into a state of surplus and says, wow. This is incredible. They're so much better than a puppy that can't even use a pee pad.
It is a humorous, almost absurd extreme comparing a human partner to a puppy on a pee pad. But the psychological mechanism underneath it is brilliant. When you strip away the entitlement of what your partner should be doing, you leave room for genuine daily gratitude for the completely mundane things. You stop evaluating them against a phantom checklist and start appreciating the actual person in the room.
Exactly. It frames true relationship readiness in a completely different light. True readiness isn't about having a shiny 2026 smart apartment secured. It isn't about having a stable tech job, a perfect financial portfolio, or having gone through 6 years of intensive therapy. True readiness is solely about your willingness to adjust.
Your willingness to absorb the friction
Uh-huh.
without turning it into a referendum on the entire relationship.
Yes. If the food is bland, you do not start a sprawling culinary debate about their lack of seasoning skills. You just quietly add salt to your own bowl. If they drop a shirt on the floor, you do not interpret it as a profound intentional disrespect to your very existence. You just pick it up without starting a war.
You just add your own salt. I
Yeah.
think that is an incredible mantra for navigating life. Just add your own salt.
It solves so much.
Because if you think about it, the person from our initial scenario, the highly successful academic who couldn't find anyone despite having the perfect resume, they were looking for someone who came perfectly pre-salted to their exact taste.
Exactly right.
They wanted a partner who required zero adjustment, zero compromise, and zero friction. And that person simply does not exist in nature.
And if they did exist, they would likely be an AI companion programmed to mirror your exact preferences, not an autonomous human being with their own internal world.
Which brings us full circle to where we started our coffee today. We are sitting here in 2026 looking out at a world that is desperately, aggressively trying to engineer the friction out of every single aspect of our lives. We want relationships to be as seamless as ordering groceries via a spatial interface. But maybe, just maybe, the friction is the actual point of the exercise.
This forces adaptation.
It forces us to stretch beyond our rigid little preferences. So, to synthesize all of this for you, our silent third friend at the table today. In an era where algorithms are explicitly designed to give us exactly what we want, instantly and flawlessly, achieving real human connection requires the exact opposite approach.
That's a total reversal.
It requires abandoning our meticulously crafted checklists. It requires accepting the endless jab punches of daily life without throwing a knockout blow in return. It means valuing the road-tested used car, utilizing the P-pad epiphany to find joy in the baseline, and learning the quiet, stoic art of just adding your own salt to the soup.
This raises an important question, a new corollary that I hope you'll mull over as you finish your coffee today. We just established that managing the friction of a flawed human partner requires immense energy and adjustment.
Yeah.
But if we eventually succeed in engineering all of that friction out of romantic relationships, if we rely entirely on AI matching or algorithmic compatibility to ensure we never ever have to compromise, will we just end up subconsciously creating friction somewhere else in our lives just to feel alive? Or worse, will we completely lose the psychological muscle required to tolerate reality itself?
Are we engineering away our ability to handle the real world? What an unsettling, brilliant thought to end on. Thank you so much for pulling up a chair and joining us for this deep dive today. It's always a genuine joy to share this time and space with you. Take care of yourself, be kind and endlessly patient with the wonderfully flawed humans in your life, and we will catch you right back here at the cafe next time.